I believe that the fires we're cast upon are the flames we shall become. I believe in a common calling where our temples pray as one. I believe in the word of wonder and a kingdom for the saved.
Larry Pollock here with Leo Mayrhoffer. Leo is in transit right now. He's actually coming from us live from the airport in Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah.
And he's on his way to New York to compete in the New York Pro. He just competed at Pittsburgh and came in great condition there.
Thank you.
I've still got to post out videos. I got so many videos from there. So we want to get into there's a lot of debate about some of the placings, specifically in the men's open and classic divisions, and our feelings about what happened. Both of us were there live and in person. I was front row, and I believe Leo was pretty close to the front and center as well.
Yeah, I was second row in dead center.
First of all, I want to give a little bit of background. When I started bodybuilding, I had seen Frank Zane on NPC Wide World of Sports when I was very young, and I thought he was amazing as far as like that a human body could look like that as a 13-year-old kid looking at it. However, when I actually really got into bodybuilding at 14, 15, the people that I looked up to were Tom Platz, Bertil Fox, Mike Mentzer. I didn't want to be a Frank Zane. I wanted to be a massive power bodybuilder. And I trained for that. And throughout my competitive career in bodybuilding, there was people that I admired in the industry, like Sean Ray. However, the people that I related to most were Dorian Yates, Ronnie Coleman, heavy training style. I really was a fan of Phil Heath. And I was never really into the aesthetic as much as just being freaky mass. I'm mentioning this because, the debate right now is, Nick Walker with his insane freaky muscle mass versus Derek Lunsford. And it was a very close decision. According to the judges, it was a tie, and they had to have a tiebreaker. And I'm the type of person that would, if it was my preference, would lean towards the freaky size over the aesthetic. That's just my preference. Actually, I believe it was what was the year that Sean Roden won?
2018.
Yeah, 2018. So 2018, Phil Heath was against Sean Roden, and let me turn this off. He was against Sean Roden, and after prejudging, I posted something about I put $1,000 bet up on Phil Heath, and Sean Ray took me up on that bet, and I actually lost. I felt that Phil Heath was going to win that show in spite of the fact that his midsection was not, up to par, because everything else was better. He had better arms, better legs, better back. In my opinion, everything was better except for the midsection. However, the IFBB made a statement right then, and they took the title from Phil Heath, which would have been his eighth Mr. Olympia. And they had warned people the year before that was going to happen. And so they took the title from Phil and they gave it over to Sean Roden. Did I agree with the decision? No, I didn't agree with it. But I understood the judging criteria. They wanted to get away from the waist. I myself had a distended waist when I was competing because taking growth hormone and insulin and eating a shit ton of food, trying to get as big as possible. I actually was at North Americans one year, and I stood in the lineup, and I actually told Sean Ray this. while I was in the lineup, just got on stage, Jim Mannion walked across the stage, pointed directly at me, looked at the head judge, shook his head no, and that was it. I was done. No
Wow.
judging anything. So right away, my waist was slightly distended, and I was like out of the conversation. So the reason I'm mentioning this is I understand the judging criteria and how they're doing these shows. And the fact is, if you have a distended waist, you're going to get marked down, no matter how big, freaky, or whatever you are. Whether I agree with it or not, that is a criteria that they set for as a judging standard, and that comes into play. Now, when we come to looking at Derek versus Nick, I mean, there's no question. First of all, we're not looking at, Frank Zane versus Mike Menser. They're very close, actually, Derek and Nick.
Yeah.
Sure, Nick is a bit bigger and he's freakier in certain body parts, but it's not like Derek's small. He's not small. And conditioning-wise, I'd say, I from what I saw, Derek is, Nick is very hard, but not as quite as much detail. What I mean by that is you don't see the separation and the striations as much as you do on Derek. Now, one thing I want to mention, both Leo and I were there in person.
The thing is, let me say something.
Yes.
I agree when it comes to the legs from the front and the backside, but I disagree in other body parts where you see more separation on Nick. You see way more separation in the arms. Derek has 0 arm separation. Same with the chest and with the abs too.
Okay, I will agree with that. I saw, yeah. I could see up close, sitting up close, more detail especially in Derek's. I'm sorry, Derek's legs.
Yeah,
much deeper separation, striations, and I don't see that in the pictures and on the videos. You're not seeing that. You're not seeing what we're seeing. Now, yeah, definitely in the arms, Nick has got more detail. The abs are etched out much deeper than Derek's, but Derek has a tiny waist and he can pull a vacuum.
Yep.
The overall symmetry and the shape is just better.
Yep.
And the back, I would say, Nick is very hard, but again, I see more detail.
Yep.
In Derek.
I agree.
So, from a judging criteria, they're both, formidably big. They both have their strengths and weaknesses in size and separation. But let's face it, Nick's waist is still distended. And if you're looking at pictures, you're not seeing it because when he hits his shots, he's able to pull the waist in and control it to some extent. But when you're sitting there watching, we were watching it live and in person, every time he did a transition, that stomach came out. And then when he does a front lat spread, his stomach comes out. So I in my opinion, I think that was the reason why it went to Derek. What is your thoughts?
I think that, you're right. I think that they looked at the overall shape and who had less flaws, I guess, at the end when it got close. And Nick just has the problem. Like, he did way better in some poses. I think this was the first time where you could make an argument of Nick winning the ab and thigh shot because he really pulled it in super, super nicely. Same with the front double. He did very well there. And he was just way more impressive to me in those shots, which he usually loses against Derek. Derek was also not as good as at the Arnolds. And so that made it close, I think. and Nick was like super impressive and way more grainy. When Derek just doesn't flex, he looks super smooth, but he also looks smooth in a pretty way, like his skin and everything. There's no varicose veins at all. It just like looks very polished. And then when he flexes through, you can see everything. So, yeah, I guess at the end of the day, Nick had more impressive muscularity and graininess, but Derek was more polished overall and has less flaws and a better symmetry. So therefore, you can make that argument, and it could have gone either way, and they would have said politics. Because if it's so close, you say number A wins, and the other half says politics. And if you say number B wins, then the other half says politics. Like, you can only lose. And you can make an argument in both directions why politics would have made sense. It makes more sense because more are going to show up to your New York Pro when Derek wins. But when Nick wins, it makes the Olympia crazy interesting, because then we have 4 people that beat each other at some point, and no one is a real favorite. So it's just like, if you want to scream politics, you will do it. But if you're honest with yourself, you can't really prove it. It was so close. Either way, that would have been the case that people would have said that. It's always when it's close, they scream politics. So the judges are effed anyways if it's not a clear winner. But I think they were honest in their assessment, and I don't think there was any politics involved in the whole show. The whole from the whole top 10, basically, I didn't see anyone. Maybe the guy who got last was a little better, but yeah, there was no real big mistake.
Well, let's look at this. First of all, you can't be mad at Derek, okay, because he's just a competitor. He can't control anything. He won because the judges awarded it to him.
Yeah.
You know, Chris Aceto. First of all, somebody made a comment that I'm voting for Derek because I'm kissing Dave Palumbo's and Chris Aceto's ass. I don't talk to Chris Aceto. He doesn't talk to me. I think he doesn't like me. Whatever. I don't even care. I have no politics. I have no relationship with the IFBB, with the Manions. So I'm just giving you my opinion from sitting in the front row. I flew across country to watch this show because I wanted to see it live and in person, because I thought it was going to be a really exciting show, and I wanted to actually see it. Should I put this up on the screen?
Yeah. You can see it, right?
Yeah. So I wanted to see this live and in person. And again, this is a decent video, but you cannot see in the video what we could see from 10 feet in front of the stage, or 20 feet, wherever we were back. Regardless, I have no horse in this race. I would have been equally happy if actually before the show, I was rooting for Martin. I was hoping Martin was going to win, but Martin didn't come in right. He was a little bit of a disappointment. If Nick had won, I would have been happy for that. But I do understand the judging criteria, and the judging criteria favored Derek. I knew they were going to vote this way because he has a more aesthetic build. And, it's not like Nick is bigger, but it's not like he makes Derek look small. Derek's equally as wide. His back is equally wide and thick. He's not small next to Nick. So you can't say that.
But did you see, like, the ab and thigh?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Like, Nick looks better.
Oh, I agree. Nick wins. He wins the ab and thigh. I think he wins the side chest. I think he wins the side tricep. and maybe the back double is comparable.
I think you could even give him the front double.
Well, Nick has the better arms, but
Okay, I mean on this shot, I would
Mhm.
give it to Derek. In reality,
yeah, I'd say Nick has the
look
better
different.
arms, but the
In
overall
reality, it looked
shape and
different.
structure, I think it goes to Derek.
Yeah. If you see it on this video, Derek all day. In reality, I had different impression, to be honest.
What did you think?
In reality, Nick looked. I don't know. Maybe that was the worst capture ever. But in reality, the front double, he looked. Nick looked better. I don't know.
Okay, so
But I gotta say that also in the side chest here on this video, for some reason, like Derek almost looks bigger, and in reality, I also didn't see that. In reality, like Nick looked bigger. It's kind of you know, interesting. Look here.
yeah,
Look this. His like Nick's arm. Nick's arm looks smaller.
right.
It's kind of weird.
I know. I'm saying things don't translate to the film as they do when you're sitting there live and in stage. You're not seeing the same thing. You're just
So
not.
if I would be Derek, I would try to get real thick abs and work on that.
Well,
This-
actually, his abs have come up since last year's Olympia, so he's been training them. Actually, I believe.
I don't see that they came up. She just hits the shot a little different. I don't think.
Maybe it's that, but before you couldn't even see abs at all. Now you can actually see the abs.
Yeah.
They're not comparable to Nick's abs, but
Nick's
at
abs
least
are
he has
crazy,
abs.
yeah.
When he won, when he won the Olympia, his abs were almost non-existent.
Yeah, I don't like that Derek is shrugging here. He needs to work on his mobility for that shot. It doesn't look good. It looks, I don't know.
I agree.
Yeah.
But the person that ultimately decides this is the judges and Steve Weinberger.
Mhm.
I don't see that them being against Nick Walker. I mean, let's face it, Nick Walker's won the New York Pro twice with Weinberger judging it. Last year he beat Martin, and if they were going by purely aesthetics, Nick would not have beaten Martin last year, but he did. He beat Martin last year in the New York Pro. I think Steve had a hard decision to make, and he went with, what the IFBB has determined that the judging criteria is going to be that, more aesthetic body is going to win over a freakier, bigger body.
I think they have a good balance. They just like, if it's super overwhelming, then they're like, yeah, the most muscular guy wins here because it's just too much of a difference. This looks great. This is way better quality here.
Yeah. Nick looks amazing.
Really,
and take nothing away from he came in the best shape ever of his life, big as a house. But as I mentioned before, he has a distension from, in my opinion, GH and insulin. And in order to maintain that amount of muscle on his frame, he has to eat a certain amount of food and take a certain amount of growth hormone and insulin to have that body. And when you do that, it's very hard to have a small midsection. How in the world Derek is able to pull this off, I don't even know. I've questioned. I really wonder how he keeps his waist so tight.
But look at this, how he improved this shot. That's crazy.
Yeah, now that his midsection is better than it's before.
Way
and like
better.
I said, when he hits the shots, it's great. But in transitions is when you see it let out. See, right now he's facing the crowd, so you're not seeing that. But when you saw him turn around and go into and twist, you could see this the distension starting to come out.
Yep. Sometimes he did let it go, and then yeah.
And I think he actually that had him ahead in prejudging because I think he had more control of his midsection, and then at the night show it started to let go a little bit more. Maybe he had to eat some more food. Maybe he got tired. Who knows? But I don't think anybody intentionally, screwed over Nick Walker. I would have been. It would have been good for the IFBB if he had won because it would have made it even more exciting, Mr. Olympia. Like Leo said, everybody had beaten everybody.
Yep,
but I think the Olympia is still going to be super exciting regardless. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about was the Classic. We had Terrance Ruffin versus Jose, and I can't even pronounce his last name.
Munoz.
I have to say that I really thought that Jose Munoz was going to win. He was just so shredded and so muscular. And I know it's Classic, and I know the criteria is different. It's not bodybuilding, but he was so impressive. And he was so much bigger and just peeled. You can't even see the level of conditioning he had was unreal.
Yeah, you see it a little bit in the back shots. This is really wild.
Yeah, his conditioning was he was skinless, and full and big. Now, Leo, your Classic is your division. I will admit that I'm a fan of certain people in the Classic, but I don't follow Classic as much because I'm more into open bodybuilding. So I really don't. I didn't see how Terrance beat him, but I guess in the Classic criteria there must be something to it.
So the thing is, they say Classic is bodybuilding with a weight cap, so there shouldn't be any other criteria. But I think it's kind of the same thing here, almost. Terrance has a way better shape. Like just the silhouette is way better. For some reason, Josema, who has actually really big legs, poses them always in a way that he makes his right leg look super straight. Like if he would just, like here you see it, if he would just turn out the knee now, it would look way better. I don't know why the hell he's not doing that, but when you look at this here, the side chest, this is gnarly. Like this conditioning, this quality, you got to admit that it's always a little bad on Terrance because he's so dark that you don't see the detail you actually see in reality, and that always does not work in his favor. So if you're there in real life, you see more. Terrance is very dark. The Olympia stream is the worst for him because it has way higher contrast. But you can totally make an argument for Josema winning. You can say he wins the side chest. You can say he wins the back double. I wouldn't say he wins the front double, but yeah, also in the ab and thigh, maybe also for aesthetic reasons, you could give to Terrance. And then you have kind of the overall flow and the favorite Classic. And the favorite Classic you can give to Terrance again. And then Terrance wins. But yeah, it was close, and it was a 1-point decision again. And I was like, what was like screaming at me was Josema's like gyno on the one side. It's like a mini gyno, but it's very in your face because that nipple looks kind of weird. Right? Can you see it? This nipple.
Oh, here. I didn't see that till you pointed it out, actually.
Yeah. And then, I mean, it's hard to see, but Josema like only injects his delts, but when you're next to him, you're like this. There's a huge lump. It's so pointy, and this is not muscle. What I love though is his bicep quality. Like it's just like so grainy. Here you see it again. Like this nipple's tiny. This nipple
Yeah, I
has
see it. I do
something
see
going
that.
on there. I don't know if they like even if that made the difference. Who knows? Who knows?
He was super impressive in person. I mean,
Yeah,
even in these videos, he's
it's
super
crazy.
impressive.
It's just
What you're
sad. He
seeing,
speaks really no English, none. It's really bad. Look at this. Jesus Christ,
yep,
that is insane. That's like Munzer. And Terrance is super shredded. But this is just like insane.
on another level.
Yeah, I had Terrance on the podcast on Sunday. That will come next Sunday. So that's going to be interesting. Because Terrance trains very scientifically and just 4 times a week.
Interesting.
Yeah. But Terrance has just so much nicer legs. But on the other side, the hamstrings of Munoz are very good. Very, very good. Yeah. So, yeah, that was a close call. I could have seen it going kind of any direction, So it was very close. It's going to be a rematch in New York. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
We'll see what happens there. Well, so that was our take. And again, we were both live and in person there. And so I think we had a better advantage than the people sitting at home watching on their TVs. Now, there were plenty of people there that were rooting for Nick. And I believe part of that was because sitting next to me were Nick's parents, and they were going crazy. And I think Nick had just a big fan base there at the show.
Yeah. We can look at my routine for a second.
Let's check it out.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best I have.
Let me see.
You see it?
Yeah. Your hamstrings have come up. And
yeah, they come out. They come out better when I'm really shredded.
Good evening. You're welcome to Spirit Flight 2762.
Yeah. You're definitely more conditioned and a little bit fuller than in your last show.
Please remain comfortably seated while we cheer your choice
I think
process.
I think I'll try to cut even more.
2 items, 1 small personal item and 1
and then
please check the back sides to indicate
eat some salt before the next show.
For New York?
Today, yeah, because today when I was posing, I was like crazy full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think from the sodium in the water?
Yeah, I guess I ate Angus steak.
Sometimes it takes, you need salt and water and extra calories to fill out.
Look, this was just now, like 2 hours ago.
Yeah. Yeah, so whatever you did there, you need to bring that to the stage.
Yeah, I think that was pretty good. And Steve said I should be bigger, so I'll try to get even more shredded so I can fill out and be bigger.
By next week?
Yeah.
How are you going to do that? You're just going to cut carbs totally?
Yeah, I'll just eat like very, very low calories till Friday till the weigh-ins. Depends on what I weigh Friday morning is how much I'm going to eat. I think the weigh-ins are at 4 or 3. Yeah. So I'll try to maybe have a little nap at noon or so. That also I always pee a lot after sleeping. Yeah. And then do that. Be like really full on stage, really, really full.
So we do want to hear your comments, but let's try to keep things respectful. I know some people have real strong opinions about all of this. We're giving our opinions based on what we saw. I can guarantee you neither of us have a horse in this race, so there's no politics on our end. I'm just going by what I saw and what I know of the judging criteria in bodybuilding as it is. Anything you want to add to that? Leo.
Sorry. I was just reading comments.
Oh,
What do you want? Sorry, what do you want me to? I thought you commented on something.
I was saying Ryan Garcia was robbed by the judges. I don't know who Ryan Garcia is.
Me neither.
Okay.
I just think they had one guy in the wrong spot, totally in the wrong spot. That was 8th place in Classic. I would have had him probably last, but that's just my taste. Because to me, he looked like totally worn out. But yeah.
Okay, I'm hearing somebody says most people thought he won. I'm thinking they're talking about Nick.
Mm.
I'm going to tell you like this. The opinion of most people doesn't really mean anything because most people don't have an eye for bodybuilding, but they haven't been in it long enough. They don't know.
Yeah, they have no idea.
They don't know what they're looking at. If there's 100 billion 13-year-olds out there screaming for Nick Walker, that doesn't mean he's better. That means just there's 100 billion 13-year-olds that don't know what they're looking at.
Nick Walker just has more fans.
Yeah, he's popular.
That's like when next year Sam Sulek will compete, and then if they ask the crowd who's going to win, they all shout Sam Sulek, and Sam Sulek gets top like 10th place, and then they're like, oh, he was robbed. They're like, yeah, come on, he just has more fans.
Yeah,
that just doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, just because more people think, that doesn't mean anything. So, yeah. So some people can have their opinion. Like I said, I think Nick looked great. He was his all-time best. I was impressed by his physique. I just know by the judging criteria that they don't vote that way, and they haven't since they took the title from Phil Heath. If you want to allow that, you're going to have to go back in time and give Phil Heath an 8th Mr. Olympia. But that is not happening. And if that's just not the way it's going, because the judging criteria is what it is, and the judges are following that. And if I'm getting somebody ready for competition, I know that if their stomach's distended, they're going to get marked down. That's just the way it goes. Whether I agree with it or not, that's how it is. So, I think the judging was fair, and I expect both Nick and Derek to come in even better at this year's Olympia. I think Nick will continue to work on trying to get his midsection controlled, and he's done a good job so far in getting it more controlled and bringing in as much detail as he can. And I think Derek will probably try to come in the best he can. And then we're going to have Hottie and Sampson there too. It's going to be a really exciting Olympia. And in the Classic, you've got Terrance and Jose and what's his name?
Mike Sommerfeld. And Romo Dino and Urs.
Yep. It's going to be a stacked lineup there as well.
A lot of good people. Yeah. Urs has to lose 65 pounds. Wow. 65 pounds. I don't know why he gets so big in off season. I don't get it.
He must feel like it helps him in some kind of a way.
Somehow.
It seems like a lot of weight to have to lose.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, the bodybuilding is.
There's Ryan Terry. Hey, Ryan. Hey, Josh.
Bodybuilding is in full swing now. I actually ran into Justin. He was on my flight last night.
Yeah. You told me. Yeah, he arrived well in. He got 8th place. Let me show Justin.
Yeah,
so,
I thought he should have placed a couple places higher.
So he was tied with Ron Gordon,
Mm-hmm.
and Ron Gordon is prettier, but I mean it's a muscle contest. I think especially in the open, so that was a little inconsistent maybe. But maybe they also marked him down for the stomach. I don't know.
I didn't notice
Okay,
his stomach being distended. I just
that's
think he's a
good.
little. I just think he's a little blocky. I don't think he was distended though.
Nah, his stomach is distended, but he can keep it in. But he had big problems leading up to the show. Like he couldn't get on the toilet. It's stress related because as soon as the show's over, he usually is fine. So it's kind of weird, but he kept it in really well. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, that's great because I saw him in prejudging too, and he did a really good job, and you could almost not see it at any time.
Yeah, when I saw him posing, I didn't notice it actually is being distended.
Yeah,
I just feel like overall his just structure is a little blocky compared to some of the other guys. But he's going to go compete in the Cal in a couple
yeah.
weeks. I think he said he felt he had a better chance of winning the Cal than going to New York.
Yep.
He decided to go there. But he carries an awful lot of muscle and great conditioning as well.
I actually filmed that one. This is nice. You should do more like that.
Yeah.
Because if he shows a little more classic poses with a vacuum, then they might be like, yeah, maybe it hangs out sometimes, but he actually can pull it together, you know? So,
Yeah. And I actually asked him at in the airport last night who he thought. And he said he thought Nick was winning, but he didn't actually watch the show. He just thought from being on stage. So, but when I mentioned his stomach being distended, that was it. So you got to get your plane.
Yeah. I gotta go get my plane now. There's like
All right.
the whole people that do the New York Pro are on my plane. I think all kinds of bodybuilders around.
Everybody's flying to New York right now, huh?
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Larry, and you have a good time in California, and I'll see you at the Cali Pro, I guess.
Yeah, and we'll be talking and filming you from New York. And good luck in New York.
All right. Thank you.
Before then.
Yeah, I'll try to come fuller. Let's see. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, we're wrapping it up. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave your comments, and that's it.
I believe